Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Mr. Wiz here. If you are new to this channel, we build video games. So right now we've been learning all about Unity. We've had a lot of great discussions and built some pretty fun things. What I want to do for this video and probably the next couple videos is do a little bit deeper dive into animation. We've touched on animation before very briefly, but now I want to give you a more thorough look at it. Today, particularly, we're going to look at character animation and some other things you can use to improve a game with animation. Okay, so to do this, we are going to create a new project. I'm using the 2022 version, and we're going to use the Universal 3D. So that is the 3D URP, Universal Render Pipeline. We're using this because of a download we're going to use is only compatible with this version, so that's why I'm using this version. The Universal Render Pipeline typically has higher graphics than the regular basic one. And I'm not really too concerned about the graphics, but since it's the one that the software I'm downloading was built for, it's what I'm going to use. Okay, so yeah, Universal 3D is what it's called on the 2022 version. If you're using a different version, it might have a different name. So like the 2020 version calls it 3D URP. So you want to download the one that has the Universal Render Pipeline, okay? So I'm doing Universal 3D. I'm going to name this project Animation, because that's going to be the main use that we're doing in this program. And we're going to go ahead and create it. While it's getting created, please go over and hop over to Unity Asset Store. And we're going to do a search for player or controller. There we go. Switch it over to the free ones. And I want you to download this controller that I'm about to download. This one right here called Starter Assets. Actually, I've downloaded it before, so I don't need to download it again. But this one right here called Starter Assets, third person, made by Unity Technologies, has a 4.3 rating. Very great program for a third-person game. That's the one that I'm going to use, and I would suggest you use the same one. So this is what it looks like. Basically, what it does is it gives us a character that's already able to move. So he already has animation built into him, which is the cool thing about it, right? So we're going to use this third-person controller with the pre-built character, and then I'm going to show you how we can change the character and add some other animation stuff to our game. Basically, we're going to take a look at how does the character work, and we're going to look at how animation can work in other parts of the game. So go ahead and download this. If you haven't done so yet, add it to your assets. And then once it's done, we're going to import it into the program, which mine is still currently building. So I will go ahead and pause this video to let it finish building, and then we will get back to it. Okay, my program finished forming, so I'm going to go ahead and import this package. I have used it before, so I don't have to download it. It's telling me here that there may be some changes to the Unity settings. Normally, when you download stuff into Unity, I would advise you to not change any of your settings because it can break your game. But in this case, this is a brand new program. We actually want it to use these settings, so I'm going to go ahead and allow them. But just as a little note, if you already have a game that's working and built and you go to download something and it asks you about changing settings, you pretty much always want to hit no on that, because sometimes it can end up breaking things that you've worked really hard on, and you end up losing some of your work, and it can be very, very frustrating. So I always recommend not letting them change the settings unless this is a brand new program and you actually want it to work using those particular settings. So here it is again telling me it's going to change the input system. So the way the player controls are going to work are going to be kind of unique here. So I will allow it to do this. All right, so now here's the stuff. It is downloading. Oh, I guess it's restarting the program right now. I don't think it finished importing it, but it did restart my program. So I just need to find this package in my package manager. Starter Assets Third Person is what it was called. So let me just do a little search. Third person. There it is. Import. It's asking me again. Import. There we go. All right, so I can close my package manager. And I have a new folder now in my project tab called Starter Assets. So here's what I want you to do with me. We're going to find the scene. They should have had a scene that came with it. I think it's, in the third person controller folder. There it is. It's called Playground. We're going to go ahead and open up the Playground scene. If you can't find the folder, you can just do a search for it. But for mine, it's called Playground. So here is the scene. And if I hit play, they already have some things in this world that we can play around with, which is why it's called a playground. A lot of times, if you didn't know it, a lot of things that you download in the asset store will come with a scene to kind of show you how that downloadable asset works. So here I've got a character that can walk around. They can also jump. So yeah, as you can tell, it already has animation on it, as what I refer to as character animation, right? Because this is a character that is animated. So there's animations for when they walk, animations for when they jump, and all that jazz. Let's see if we can find the actual code for the animations. Probably in the character folder. There we go, animation. So these are the animations that it comes with. So these were pre-made. We don't have to build them, which is very handy. And if I click on them, sometimes they will actually show me the animation. Here we go. So in the animation section, I can see this animation right here. I can change the size of the window to make it larger to see it better. So this is the jump animation, and it looks like that, right? So these are all the different animations that it comes with. I can click on one, and I can see what it looks like here. He's doing like a running motion, a walking motion, a standing idle motion where he just kind of sways just a little bit. So overall, I really love this asset. This is a great way to build a third-person game without having to put a lot of work into it, because they have already built the controls for the movement, and they've also already built a simple animation for it. So first thing I want to do is I want to change the character, because the animations are great, but the character is not something that I would probably want to use in my game. It's just kind of almost a robot-looking dude. Doesn't have a face, doesn't have clothes, doesn't have anything. So I want to change this character to something else. So we're going to go back to the asset store. And we're going to go to 3D. We're going to go to characters. And here's the important thing that you need to know. Let me go, of course, switch it to free. And can I narrow down my search of characters? Yes. Good. Okay. Humanoids is what I'm looking for. Humanoid characters. So when we say humanoid, if you're not familiar with that term, humanoid basically means it has a shape. The body shape is similar to a human's. It has a head, 2 arms, 2 legs. Okay? So if we're looking at the program, let me find this robot real quick here. That's him right now. We want to replace him with something that has the same features. It should also have a head. It should also have 2 arms. It should also have 2 legs. So we are looking for a humanoid character. All right. Now, which humanoid character can you use in your game? The good news is almost any of them. So what we need is a humanoid character that is already mapped out. Basically, we need Unity to already know where their head is, where their arms are, where their legs are, right? So any character that has a basic humanoid shape is probably already mapped out. I think I'm probably going to use... I've done some of these before, some of these I haven't. I'm just going to use this adventure guy right here. But you can, of course, pick whichever one you want to. Just make sure the character you use has a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs, and they should hopefully work. All right, so we're going to download that guy. All right, so I've imported the new character. I used the adventure character package, but of course, you can use whatever one you want to. But let's look at what it looks like here. So if I go to my prefabs folder, where I have my characters, these are my characters right here. I can drag and drop them into my world. Okay, so I have a problem already. Obviously, the texture doesn't look like it's working correctly. When you use URP, the Universal Render Pipeline, sometimes you will find textures that aren't set up for that, especially if it's made for a game that doesn't use URP. But there are ways to fix that. If you go to Edit, you can go down here to Rendering. You can go to Materials. And... oh, hold on. Okay, I guess I have to select the materials first. In the 2020 version, it used to let me do all of them with one button click. So let's go to the materials. Which materials do I need to convert? I'm looking for ones that are bright pink. Here we go. So I'm just going to click on the first one, hold down Shift, click on all those, hold down Control to also get that one. And now let's see if it lets me do it. Graphics, rendering, materials, there we go. So any of those pink materials, I'm going to try to upgrade. And there it is. All right, cool. That was more steps than it used to be. I wonder why they changed that. In the 2020 version, it was a little easier because you could just have it do all of them. But anyways, that worked. So now I've got my character. He looks correct. Good graphics. You can see his face. So that position he's taking right now, where he has his arms out to his side, we call that a T-pose position. When you use humanoid characters, it is normal for them to start as a T-pose. So let's talk about why that is. So right now I'm just looking at the mesh. You don't need to do this. You can just watch me do it. But I want you to understand the basic setup here. So for the man's mesh, which is what this one's called, if I go to the rig, you're going to see that he is set up as a humanoid, okay? That's important. If you download a character from Unity Asset Store or you download a model from somewhere else, because you can get models from other places, right? You need to make sure that it is set up as a humanoid. If it's not, then it won't work correctly. Oh, this little arrow here. I forgot about this. If you click on this arrow next to the character, it kind of breaks it down and shows you all the pieces to it. Right here, this one that looks like a humanoid, this is the mesh that actually shows us the mapping of the body. So where it says configure avatar, I can click on that, and I can actually see the different joints of the character. So this is really important. Once again, you do not need to do this with me. But when it comes to animation, this is important, because basically what we're seeing here is we're seeing where his knee should go, where his ankle is, where his elbows are, where his shoulder is, and we can see all this in the way that it's mapped. So when I use a new model, one of the things that I like to do, especially if the animation doesn't look right, is I'll come back here and I'll take a look at this. Normally, you don't have to change this. Typically, Unity does a good job of giving you stuff that already works. Because if you tell it that the model's humanoid, it's going to look for the head, it's going to look for the arms, it's going to look for the legs, and it's going to auto-fit it usually. But if it's not lined up correctly, you can edit it. But yeah, in this case, it looks like it's mapped up perfectly fine, so I'm not going to change anything. I don't need to change anything. But I wanted you to see this. This is how humanoid animations work. They're a bunch of small pieces that are all connected with joints so that they can bend and move just like the real body could. All right, so let's get back to the game. Let me get out of the avatar for a second. We're back at the game. I want my robot dude to now look like this guy. So this guy I grabbed in the prefabs for the download that I made, and I want him to have all the stuff on him that the player amateur has. So there's the easy way and there's the hard way, okay? The hard way would be getting this character and putting all the stats on there that this other guy already has, and then copying everything, and that would be kind of a pain in the butt. I am a lazy coder. I always try to look for the shortcuts. So here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to open up the player amateur. I'm going to find the part of his code that is actually the robot part, the part that has to do with his appearance, which is right here. And I'm going to disable it. Boom, robot disappeared. And I'm going to replace that with the guy that I have. So I'm going to drag the man character that I downloaded, and I'm going to put it in the same place where the armature mesh is. I'm not making it a child of the mesh, I'm just putting it in the same area. So actually it's a child of geometry for this character, okay? And let's also reset its position. So he'll be standing in the center. So I'm going to reset the man's position to 0, 0, 0. And that should put him in the same space. He's occupying the same space as our robot. Look good so far? Cool, cool, cool. All right. So now I'm going to disable the robot. And if I play it now, the guy should move around, but he's still in the T-pose. So now I need his animation, the robot's animations that were working fine, I need to put them on this model. So how do I do that? All right. So if I go back to the main part of the player armature, this is the animator. We have the controller and we have the avatar. The controller is the important part. The controller is, just like it sounds, the part that controls the animation. In fact, let's double click on that controller, take a look at it. So here's the controller. And this is what's controlling the robot. So he starts off, the entry is basically like on start. So when the program starts, it starts here, and then the arrow guides it to this one. So it does the idle, walk, run, blend. And there's a series of transitions here where he can jump land, he can go in air, he can do some different things, right? So basically, this is the controller that controls how he moves. This block is for walking, running. These blocks are for jumping, and then being in the air. Okay, so we want this same controller to work with our new guy. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the player armature. And where it has the controller, we're going to leave that controller there. That controller is fine. But I need to change the avatar. The avatar right here is set up for the robot. I need it to be set up for the man. So that mesh we were looking at earlier, the adventure characters mesh, which was this one right here, I need to put that in there. Now, I might just let me select it from here. Yes, it will. Woohoo! So I don't actually have to go look it up. I can find it right here. So man mesh, I'm going to select that. Let's go back to the game and let's see if it works now. So now I'm saying the same controller should work, but for a different mesh. And there we go. Now our same walking animations that the robot was doing is doing with this guy. So the cool news about that is you can I know it sounded like a lot of work because I was talking a lot, but honestly it wasn't a lot of work. I downloaded the asset that already existed, and I put the character there where the robot's mesh was, and I changed the avatar, and that's really all I did. Everything else I did was just to explain to you guys what I was doing. So there we go. We have a character that can walk around. He looks pretty cool. But I don't want to end this video here. I want to do one more thing. Animation is more than just looks. You can use animation to actually improve a game. It doesn't have to just be, oh, something looks nicer. Here's what I mean by that. I'm going to create a lift that I can walk on that will take me up here so I don't have to use the stairs. And that's going to be my next step here. So in the game, over here, I'm going to right-click in my hierarchy, create a 3D object, and we're just going to make it a cube. And I'm going to put this cube over... Oops, grabbed the wrong one. I'm going to put this cube over there. We're going to change the size of it, make it nice and thin. Maybe a little bit longer that way. So I'm sure you've played games before that had objects that just kind of moved up and down and the player could stand on them, right? That's what we're doing. We're going to create an object the player can stand on that will take him up to the top so he doesn't have to walk up the stairs. So I'm going to bring this down close to the floor. That's pretty close. And maybe a little bit closer to the edge. Maybe just a little bit longer. All right, so this is going to be my lift. And I want the player to be able to stand on this, and it should move them up to the top floor. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create an animation for it. Now, my animation tab is down here. If your animation tab is not down here, you can put it there very easily by just going to Window, going to Animation, and you can select this to create the animation tab, which you can move to wherever you want to put it. Once you have an animation setting that you like, I do recommend saving it. I like to have my animation down here and my animator up here, but, you know, it's really up to you. Okay, so I'm going to create my animation. I'm going to call this animation a lift. And now we're going to go ahead and set it up. I'm going to be changing its position. So we're going to go with transform, position. I'm going to do this fast because we have done simple animations before. I need to decide how long do I want it to take to get to the top. So I want it to take maybe 3 seconds, I'm thinking. So around the 3-second mark, I'm going to create a frame. And I'm going to use the record button. With the keyframe where it is, I'm now going to move my lift up to where I want it. Now keep in mind, anything you change while the record button is turned on will become part of the animation. So only change the parts that you want to be part of the animation. If you do anything else, like right now I'm noticing it doesn't quite line up the way I wanted it to, I should turn off the recording if I'm going to change that, right? So maybe I decided, okay, I actually want it to be over here a little bit more. Well, now it doesn't match the original numbers, so I'm going to have to change them. So let's go back to record. This keyframe, I actually want to be over here. And the first keyframe, I want to be in the same, what was the Z position that I used? 8.96. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with the first keyframe. And I still have the record turned on, so it saved that. I'm not really worried about this keyframe right now. In fact, let's just go ahead and delete this. I don't need that. So I'm going to get out of record mode, and what I have right now is it should move up. And there it does. Don't worry about those yellow lines. That has nothing to do with what we're doing. Why did I just do that? Edit, undo. Edit, undo. All right, so if I hit play right now, it lifts up. Okay, so this is what I got right now. You can ignore the yellow lines. Don't worry about them. I think those have to do with light reflections. So it's working fine. It moves up, but I also want it to move back down. So let's go another 3 seconds. I'm going to go to the 6-second mark this time. And what I'm going to do is I want it to go back to where it started. So I'm just going to take this first keyframe, the one that has a starting position. I'm going to hit Control C to copy it. Then I'm going to go to the 6-second mark. I'm going to do Control V to paste it. So it should be an exact copy of the first one. All right, so if I play the animation now, I've got a lift that goes up and down. So the cool thing about this is that's a usable lift. I can use that in my game. In fact, let's go check it out. There it is, going up and down. Let's go hop on it. We just made a usable lift. Isn't that neat? We didn't have to write any scripts. All we had to do was go into animation, tell it where to start, where to stop. In this case, we had it start on the bottom, go up, and then go back down to the bottom. And we have a usable thing. So animations don't just have to be something, that is a special effect or an enhancement. It can actually be something you use in your game. It can be valuable. All right, cool. So this video is too long. We will make another one. In the next video, I'm planning on doing a dance party. So we're going to add some dancing animations to characters. We're also going to learn how to control when those animations start and stop, things like that, okay? So I will see you guys in the next video. If you learned something new today, please click that like button. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.